Sometimes the sheer amount of gear available in this hobby does seem mind-bogglingly overwhelming. Yeah, there's brushes, there's brush cases, there's brush soap, there's clippers, job squad clippers, primo plastic clippers, metal clippers, resin clippers. There's wet palettes, there's wet palette paper, there's wet palette, wet bit sponges, airbrushes, airbrush pumps, airbrush paints, airbrush thinners, airbrush cleaners. And over each of those, there's like at least a dozen brands to think about and consider. What's up, my movers and shakers? I'm Dave, this is MS Paints, and today we're going to talk about your hobby gear, specifically your brushes, and whether buying the best thing is the best thing for you. I recently put a question out to my wonderful patron Discord community about what paintbrushes they use and what they use them for. The answers were pretty much the entire spectrum of brands and specific use cases for those brands, to the point where there isn't that much of a consistent through line, and therefore I've had to change this video entirely. The only real takeaway, I think the main through line, is that people tend to use cheaper brushes for the dirty work, like the base coat in the enamels, the washes, all that stuff, and then use the primo stuff for like the detail, the extra bits, the stuff that they want to take their time with at the end. And regardless of what kind of brushes and brands and types of brushes they used, they all generally had reasons based on experience for why they used them and when they used them. Like with any kind of creative hobby, everyone in there is a different grade in proportion to each other, but one of the more interesting things to see was that the painters that are new to the hobby, the painters that are kind of happy doing just tabletop standard stuff, and the people that are like, I would say, are competition level painters, a lot of them are using the same gear. But in some cases, the competition level painters are using the Timo brushes, and the entry level painters are painting using the most expensive brushes on the market. So it is completely baffling to understand this stuff. Each of them had their reasons for doing so, either because they like it, either because of budget, either because of disposability, or reliability in specific cases and context of brush and gear. And the overall conclusion that I think I managed to draw from all of it was that the gear creep and escalation in our hobby feels more like lifestyle branding stuff than it does to be born from practicality, if that makes sense. Which, to put it bluntly, is these products are kind of made and sold on the principle that if we sell a nicer, bougier, well-made product, people who use it, their painting gets better, which there is a thread of truth to that, I guess. I do believe better gear elevates a potential ceiling for ability, absolutely. But those guys using Temu brushes and the dog's water bowl as a wet palette kind of just buck that trend entirely, which is, like I say, there's a lot of data in this little question I put out on the Discord, but I don't think there's an answer. I did also, in all of the information, find that people would buy products and use products from a company whose values they felt they aligned with, which is interesting. Or rather, the flip of that, there were people that said they wouldn't use stuff from specific companies because they didn't agree with stuff that they've done in the past, which is entirely fair. Like Green Stuff World just stealing someone else's artwork and using it as marketing material, or Orange Brushes using AI-generated stuff in one of their marketing campaigns. In the case of like AK Interactive, just kind of making light of a Holocaust joke in a marketing campaign poster and then not apologizing for it. I can see how that last one is potentially grounds to cause some ill feelings. Yes. Yeah. So my intention for this video was to basically pick up some brushes, and in my shaky hands with my average painting capacity, I was going to try and make a little list of my favourite go-to brushes, but having digested the Discord's feelings on brushes and products, I don't actually think that would be especially useful for me to do. I do use quite a wide range of brushes in my day-to-day, and my choices normally just depend on how I feel. I'll just try this one today. I use Artist Opus generally. They're great. They're my workhorses. I use Rosemary & Co. Series 33 for the exact same reasons. I use Foxbite when I feel like it. I use Chronicle RPG Synthetics for my oil and enamels. And I recently started using Tesseract miniatures painting brushes because they're just something different. And yes, all of these makes and manufacturers are different. They all offer a slightly different feeling when they're being used. What that feeling is, I don't know. It's just some of those countless intangibles that I can't quite quantify. They've all got decent sized bellies with a nice point. They're all hard wearing and they can take a bump when they need to. But because they are all, I would argue, quite different, each brush takes time to break in, or rather, the brush takes time to break you in, if that makes sense. So we go back to these high-end painters with their Poundland brushes and their dog food bowl wet palettes and their cheap single-ply toilet paper. And we kind of realize that these guys have, the tools have broken them in and they've broken in the tools, and they've learned to work around all the inadequacies of those tools to the point where I do know people with Poundland brushes and dog food bowl wet palettes that can run circles around me in terms of painting caliber, even when I'm using the stuff I'm most comfortable with and the stuff that I thought at the time of purchase was the best thing I could get on the market. So I think before you do think about taking that dive into, spunking some money up the chimney to get some nice new fancy brushes, just kind of take a step back and think, do I need to learn more about what I have? Do I need to learn these paints? Do I need to learn this model? Do I need to learn this painting handle? Do I need better lights? What do I need? What are the other cheaper things I can fix before I put hopes and dreams on that? But of course there is a good chance that your ceiling for capacity and ability will increase with better gear. That is completely normal. It applies to most creative working output. I did the same with cameras. I did the same with audio production. I started with the very basics, figured out, hang on, what is this actually supposed to do? And then obviously moved up. Moved up to working in surround and working with cinema cameras and getting a foundation and knowledge base to move up to actually make the improvements and new purchases matter. So yeah, when it comes back to brushes and I'm having conversations with brush manufacturers or designers or just generally people in the industry, when there's a sales pitch coming, what I'm looking for in their sales pitch is not to sell me lifestyle. I want them to tell me what their intention was with the product. I don't want to be told a brush is going to change my life, because I know it won't. And I don't want to be told my painting is going to get better, because that's nearly all on me, that. So when I was chatting to Stu from Tesseract Minis, who makes these pretty purple brushes, sorry Stu, I have straight away just gone ahead and wrapped this in grip tape on your lovely brush. It's got cat hair on it as well, sorry. He presented them to me and said, this is the big one. There is a medium one. The fuck's the regular one? Where'd I put it in there? I've got everything else but that. We've even got a mold line remover in here. This is the medium one. There's a base coating and washes brush, and there is your everything else brush. And yeah, they're like 12 quid each, and he basically said my intention was to make brushes that I, as a professional painter and painting teacher, would want in my life. So he made this one. The others are somewhere. That's a vibe I can get on board with, because he's not saying I'm going to be a better painter from him. He's pretty much just saying, here's some gear, it's nicely made, I've overseen it all, I'm a pretty good painter, you're a pretty good painter. I've used the Big Chungus brush for about a year already. That has been a very speedy base coater. But the workhorse brush that I've got is a new addition, which I think is somewhere between a 1 and a 2 size maybe. I've only had one session with that, and it was during this fucking god-awful heat wave, and my MS was just kicking my ass, so I need to invest some more time in understanding it under more stable conditions. Like I said earlier, my intention with this video was to make a different video, and I kind of just wanted to get these brushes off Stu and then paint something stellar that looked great at the end in the B-roll with him to just put his brush line over. But my painting ended up being kind of like a city centre Pan-Asian buffet average, I'm afraid. So that hasn't quite worked out, sorry. But that is the hand I was dealt that day of painting, and as soon as a new hand comes along, I will definitely be first in the fucking queue to get one. Reinforcing my earlier point though, I can't remember what the point was, but it was definitely something about gear don't matter. I could have had the best brush in the world in my hand, and it absolutely would not have made a difference. I also don't think anyone should ever have to fight their tools, but it's kind of, again, before buying something expensive, it's a question of, are you fighting your own ability capacity, or are you fighting against the tools? So yeah, it's just more learning. It's just more learning. But I am going to add them to like my just daily workflow and see how they feel. I've put a link to the brushes down in the description below, so you can go check them out. And I've put a link to Stu's channel so you can see what he's talking about, because he can talk about this stuff better than I can. Because he is a very small, well, he's not small, he's a bit taller than me. He's a small business in the UK that teaches painting, and he's making brushes now. And it would be nice to just kind of keep coming back to that, reaffirming that, seeing how we're getting on. Because it's new brushes. It's a new player in the game, mate. It's a new player in the game. Of course, if you've got a preference on brushes, do let me know down in the comments. I'm sure you will. Let me know what you use for what. Let me know what you don't use. Let me know what you haven't touched in years. And let me know what you definitely regretted investing in the most. Thanks to Stu from Tesseract for supplying me with these brushes, and thank you to my wonderful Patreon community for supporting this channel. Cheers. I'm out of here. Did I fucking genuinely not bring that one?